In-depth analysis of the Russia-Ukraine war, diplomatic, military, and strategic developments. Introduction. The Russia-Ukraine war, now in its fourth year, day 1127 as of March 27, 2025, remains one of the most consequential geopolitical conflicts of the 21st century. What began as a full-scale invasion in February 2022 has evolved into a protracted war of attrition, with significant implications for global security, energy markets, and international diplomacy. This in-depth analysis examines recent developments across three key dimensions. 1. Military dynamics, frontline shifts, drone warfare, and attrition strategies. 2. Diplomatic efforts, ceasefire negotiations, international mediation, and geopolitical alignments. 3. Economic and humanitarian impact, sanctions, energy warfare, and civilian suffering. By synthesizing reports from Sky News, Al Jazeera, and other sources, we assess the current state of the war and its possible trajectories. 1. Military dynamics. Stalemate with high-intensity attrition. A. Frontline developments. No major breakthroughs. The war has settled into a grinding stalemate, with neither side achieving decisive victories in recent months. I. Avdiivka aftermath, Russian tactical gains. Russia captured Avdiivka in February 2024 after months of brutal fighting, marking its most significant gains since Bakhmut. Ukrainian forces conducted a tactical retreat to avoid encirclement but continue harassment attacks on Russian supply lines. Russian consolidation. Moscow is now reinforcing Avdiivka to prevent a Ukrainian counterattack, mirroring its strategy in Bakhmut. Kherson and Zaporizhia. Artillery duels and Ukrainian counter-pressure. Kherson. Russian forces shell civilian areas regularly, likely to deter Ukrainian river crossings. Zaporizhia, Robotyne, Ukraine maintains pressure near Robotny, a critical axis for potential future offensives toward Melitopol. Bakhmut and Donbass. Frozen frontlines. Despite minor skirmishes, the Donbass front remains largely static, with both sides conserving ammunition for larger operations. Drone and missile warfare. Asymmetric strikes. Both nations increasingly rely on long-range drones and missiles to bypass fortified frontlines. Ukraine's drone campaign against Russian oil. Ukraine has intensified strikes on Russian oil refineries Rostov, Krasnodar, Tuapse, disrupting 10 to 15% of Russia's refining capacity. Impact. Rising domestic fuel prices in Russia, forcing Moscow to impose gasoline export bans. Russian attacks on Ukraine's energy grid. Winter 2024-25 campaign. Russia resumed large-scale strikes on power plants, causing rolling blackouts in Kharkiv, Odessa, and Kyiv. Objective. Undermine Ukraine's industrial capacity and civilian morale ahead of next winter. Russia's nuclear posturing. A deterrence strategy. Putin's recent warnings of asymmetric responses suggest Moscow may escalate nuclear rhetoric if NATO sends long-range missiles ATACMS, or F-16s. Likelihood of use. Low, but Russia may conduct nuclear-capable missile tests to intimidate the West. 2. Diplomatic efforts. Failed mediation and shifting alliances. Ceasefire talks and Russia's reinterpretation of agreements. Macron's accusation, Sky News, France claims Russia as reinterpreting past agreements, likely referring to grain deal collapse. July 2023, Russia withdrew, then demanded sanctions relief for renewal. Minsk agreements 2014-15, Kremlin now claims they are void, justifying its 2022 invasion. Implications. Russia uses negotiations as a stalling tactic while fortifying occupied territories. Saudi Arabia's Peace Summit, a Global South initiative. Details. Hosted 40 nations, excluding Russia. Focused on Zelenskyy's 10-point peace plan, territorial integrity, reparations, tribunals. Outcome. No breakthrough, but demonstrated Global South interest in mediation. Problem. Without Russia, talks are symbolic. Trump's claim of a Putin phone call, political warfare. Trump's assertion claims he could end the war in 24 hours, if re-elected, suggesting pressure on Ukraine to cede territory. Lifting sanctions on Russia in exchange for a ceasefire. Kremlin's silence. Neither confirms nor denies, keeping speculation alive. Impact on Ukraine aid. U.S. Congress blocks $60 billion package, emboldening Putin. ICC arrest warrants. Legal pressure on Russia. New warrants expected. Targeting Russian commanders for Mariupol bombings and forced deportations. Limitations. Since Russia doesn't recognize the ICC, enforcement is impossible unless officials travel abroad. 3. Economic and humanitarian impact. War beyond the battlefield. A. Sanctions and Russia's evasion tactics. Effectiveness. Initial shock 2022, ruble crash, tech shortages. 2024 adaptation. Russia routes oil via India, China, UAE, using shadow fleets. Loopholes. Third country intermediaries Turkey, Kazakhstan, supply dual-use tech. Crypto payments bypass SWIFT bans. B. Black Sea grain crisis. Global food security at risk. After grain deal collapse, Ukraine exports via Danube River and EU rail, but volumes are 50% lower. Russian blockades. Drones target cargo ships near Odessa, raising insurance costs. Impact on Africa, Middle East. Rising bread prices in Egypt, Lebanon. C. Humanitarian catastrophe. Deportations and war crimes. UN report. 700,000 plus Ukrainian children forcibly taken to Russia. Filtration camps. Alleged executions, torture in occupied zones, per HRW. Conclusion. The war's future trajectories. 1. Scenario 1. Frozen conflict, most likely. Russia digs in, Ukraine lacks resources for a 2025 counteroffensive. West grows fatigued, pressures Kyiv for negotiations. 2. Scenario 2. Ukrainian breakthrough, if U.S. aid resumes. F-16s and ATACMS could enable deep strikes, but unlikely to regain Crimea. 3. Scenario 3. Russian escalation, if NATO splinters. Putin may gamble on a Kharkiv offensive if US abandons Ukraine. Final assessment. The war remains deadlocked, with diplomacy failing and military advances incremental. The 2024 US election could be a turning point, either reinvigorating Western support or accelerating a compromised peace. Would you like additional focus on specific battlefronts, arms production trends, or NATO's strategic dilemmas?